If I hear a squall, allow the ground to find its brutal way to me. We're all familiar with the story of Icarus, the boy who flew too close to the sun. But what if things were different? In an alternate universe, we rewrite the story. It's a cold Greek midnight when Icarus flies for the first time. And he shoots for the moon in all of her unattainable glory. We all know how it ends though, don't we? Icarus's wings give out and he plummets into the sea all the same. And at this point, you're probably asking, Nikhil, if the story ends all the same, then why change it at all? It's because today there are a growing number of modern Icaruses. Indeed, Icarus is no longer a character found in our books. He's the weird overachiever sitting next to you. The kid who went from gifted to average to never enough. Who knows? Maybe he's found in the mirror you've grown too ashamed to look into. I stand before you today, a former gifted and talented member, my wings melting under the growing urge to fly higher. And I invite every single one of you to fly with us here today. This is the story of the modern Icarus. It must have been about 4th grade when I was first identified as gifted. They said that based on Cat 4 scores and my class percentage, I was perceived a student of a gifted and talented ability. And if you ask me, this is where it began. I could feel the wings beginning to grow. They gave a strong flap. They were itching to start flying, and so I flew. Because what else was I to do with a pair of powerful wings on my back and an infinite sky to swim through? This feeling of initial ascent is consistent among many such Icaruses. In all honesty, a real definition of giftedness is still up for debate in academic circles, but it's generally considered that a gifted child is one who performs exceptionally well in an exceptional number of areas. There are different ways to assess whether a child is gifted, varying from country to country. In Japan, for instance, it's based on an attitude and effort towards learning, while American and Western models prioritize pure aptitude. In my case, it was my grades in the 3rd grade and my Cat 4 scores which gave me that ticket to the G&D club. For a while, things were great. I mean, I was breezing through my tests, no problem whatsoever. But that's the problem with being precocious. You peak early and then you're left watching everyone else catch up while you stagnate. A few tests came back with less than stellar results. No problem. But at the same time, my Cat 4 results were deteriorating. I was facing problems, but I never really came out about them because I'm gifted. It would be an embarrassment, I thought, to reach out over academics like these. And on the other hand, certain subjects which I thought were so easy, I stopped trying on them, settled into a crushing difficulty spike. Maybe if we had reached out back then, we wouldn't be here right now. And on the emotional side, things weren't going so great either. Up until about 8th grade, I struggled to make friends, genuinely. I'd have maybe 1 or 2 real friends every year, but I felt like an acquaintance otherwise. This isn't anybody's fault, by the way. In fact, I learned it is natural for gifted children to struggle in making friends, mostly because they develop ahead of themselves to an extent. Their intellectual cognition supersedes their social and emotional development, which makes it more difficult to connect with peers of their age. Experts hypothesize that this could be because of the simplicity of peer relationships in earlier years and the growing complexity as years pass by. Another theory purports something a little bit more sinister. It's the idea of conscious social alienation, which explains the downturn in performance over the years for gifted children. The theory posits that to appear more relatable to their peers, less nerdy, gifted children intentionally downplay their performance in the classroom to gain social acceptance. Societally, if you think about it, we fear beings with an advantage over us. We don't fear difference more so than we fear superiority. And in a rush to downplay this stigmatization of difference, children undersell their ability. And it's here where the wax melts. Fast forward another few years and now we're here. and I'm free falling. There are hardly any feathers left on my misshapen wings. I have not been considered gifted on the grounds of academic performance since the 9th grade. I promised myself that I would be honest on this stage, and in all honesty, I am exhausted. I'm burnt out, I'm destroyed, and I would quit, but I'm too busy trying to desperately flap my non-existent wings for some kind of flight. Yes, I'm still doing well, but I've been so caught up in the ideas of excellence that good has failed to become enough. Yes, I'm still spending my weeks preparing for competitions and events. I spent nearly a month on the first 100 words of this speech, but I don't feel like myself. I haven't felt like myself for over 2 years. Nothing is ever enough. I have not scored an average of above 90% since the 7th grade. Maybe it's time to realize that I'm simply not smart anymore. When we continue our habit of associating children with their academic worth and giftedness, a term which still has no certain definition. Mind you, children become nothing more than vessels for achievement. In the grand scheme of things, the modern Icarus runs on achievement and achievement alone. After years of being weighed against our achievements, put on pedestals by a system that paradoxically favors and stigmatizes intelligence, what is left of ourselves when we fall in love with what we were and not who we currently are? Our entire self-worth built on every little achievement until eventually we aren't ourselves. No, we are that one second place trophy back in 9th grade, the participation certificate in the science Olympiad, the sum of every tournament and accolade and laureate rather than just being human. Icarus is remembered not in his life but for his death. And is this the fall, I wonder, that awaits every child in the system? Is there any surprise that studies in Turkey show that gifted children display higher levels of depression, anxiety, and other emotional disorders than quote-unquote normal students? I firmly believe that every child has wings. In whichever blissful sky they choose, they take flight. And I believe it's a communal responsibility for us to nurture these wings. But on our journey to ensure that Icarus finally kisses the sun, we cannot forget Icarus himself. As a community, it is our duty to teach our youth to value themselves above their fortunes. It is our duty to tell them what so many have never been told, that you are more than the sum of your achievements. You are you. We need to move away from this urge to get a census in terms of defining a gifted child and embrace the subjectivity that comes with every child. Let our children soar freely and give them the support to do so. And maybe then they can enjoy the success without the plague of perfectionism gnawing at their wings. The modern Icarus has fallen. I'm sorry to disappoint all of you with some rousing motivational story, but he has fallen. And he's unsure of how he will fly again. But if we change our ways, the future Icaruses can have a more merciful flight. And to the Icaruses gathered here, however old you may be, wherever you come from, get the help that you need. It is never too late. Choose yourself over the idea of yourself. I hope you have learned something on this flight with me.